get a move on then. And there have been some interesting brokerage notes as well coming out on Yatra.com, talking about the company's plans to expand their overall market share and how the enterprise business is growing. Let's also understand what the travel trends are and the festive outlook. We've got Dhruv Shringi, who is the CEO and whole-time director, Yatra, now joining in. To begin with, I just wanted to understand what the growth is like in your business right now at a time when we're seeing the travel landscape really evolving and people venturing out. Travel is back with a bang for sure.
So in terms of the overall business, there is very strong tailwind right now behind the business, as we saw in the first half of the year as well. We've seen domestic aviation for Yatra and the industry overall grow quite strongly. For us, specifically in the second quarter, domestic air volumes and air volumes were 31% up year over year. And we continue to see strong momentum in the current quarter as well. This is obviously peak travel season as far as the consumer travel part of the industry is concerned.
Okay, good to know. And what about the company in specific in terms of your margin growth drivers? Brokerages seem to be very optimistic about the fact that you are poised to gain market share. There's going to be a reversal in the kind of trend that we've seen for the stock price. So I just want to understand what the game plan is to gain market share.
Sure. So there are two parts to our business, as you might recall. There is a consumer part to our business, and there is an enterprise part to our business where we service some of the largest corporations in India. On the corporate travel side, the focus is in terms of driving up margin through cross-selling more and more products. So products like hotels, products like car hire, insurance, visa services. These are the incremental services that we are layering on top of the flight proposition for both domestic and international flight. Whereas on the consumer side, we are looking at continuously optimizing our spend on the marketing side to drive better operating leverage and margin for the business.
Hi, yes, and it seems like the market is listening to it because today, of course, the lock-in also ended of around 7.8% equity, but clearly the stock price was still quite higher by that. In fact, it opened with a gain of around 6%. But just coming back to the point, the airline segment reported a strong growth in the quarter gone by. Going forward, what kind of estimates do you have when it comes to that air segment of yours?
See, if you look at where the industry is growing about 10 to 12%. That's the kind of expectation we have for industry volume growth over the next 12 months. And our endeavor would be to grow at about 1.5 to 2 times the industry growth rate. So we do expect stronger market share gains for us. We do expect a faster growth rate for us as a company on account of the strong tailwinds that we see both in our consumer business and in our enterprise travel business.
Okay, so you've spoken about the importance of going beyond the standard booking services and adding on to the value-added profile as well, right? How do you plan to exactly do that? What's the game plan?
See, on the corporate side, as I said, because we already have a platform in place, large organizations have deployed our technology solution. Our ability to sell an incremental product at relatively low marginal cost is very high, right? For us, the cost entailed to add another product aligned to, let's say, flights, be it domestic and international, adding hotels, adding visa services, cabs, insurance, all of this, the marginal cost for adding an incremental product is extremely low for us. Hence, for every product that we add, the operating leverage is quite high. That is what our endeavor is, that now that the hard work has been done of deploying the technology solution for business travel in these large corporations, the focus is on trying to add more and more products and services onto that same platform.
All right, building on that tech, so just give us a sense as to how you're really leveraging now AI and a lot more new age technology into Yatra services.
I think that's an extremely important facet for the organization, especially going forward. We've already used AI to a certain extent in terms of automating the workforce and some of the standardized business processes in the backend. That's where the key focus right now is in terms of automating the kind of responses that go out to customers, addressing certain standardized queries of customers. These are the areas where today, some of the AI work is being focused on. I think going forward, there will also be, more areas and avenues, especially on the consumer-facing side, in terms of recommendations that need to be provided to customers, where the AI can play an important role in at least the top of the funnel. So that's how we are thinking about this, that the stage one of the AI implementation is in terms of automation in the back end, in terms of standardizing service and service delivery. The next phase of the AI would be in terms of the customer facing aspects, where we can start looking at AI to build out recommendations, especially when it comes to travel and holiday destinations.
Okay, let's also get in a sense from you. I know you probably can't divulge exact numbers, but any sense as to what the annual billing for corporate customer accounts is? How many new customer or corporate customer accounts have you added? What's the outlook?
Sure. So if you see, last year we had added about 97 new corporate customers. Our endeavor, continues to be to add corporate customers in the 80 to 100 range on an annualized basis. That's the number of corporate customers that we're looking at adding in the current year as well, and that's the endeavor. What that allows us to do is it allows us to grow the business closer to 20%, because you see same customer spend growth as well, plus addition happening from new customers. So the combination of the two is what we are looking at to enable us to grow closer to 20% per annum.
So you've also been quite vocal about making strategic acquisitions, right? Anything in the pipeline that you can talk to us about?
Sure. So I'll give you a more macro perspective on that in terms of how are we thinking about acquisitions, right? There are two areas in which we are looking at acquisitions. These are more focused on the corporate travel side. One is products and services that can be cross-sold into our existing corporate customer base. So this is one avenue that we are looking at for expansion. This is more of a margin driver for us, as I explained earlier. The other is to look at geographic expansion, right? Here we would look at markets in which maybe our presence on the corporate side is not as deep as of today, and see how we can acquire more customers in these markets and then deploy our technology solutions in those customers. So there's a combination of the two that we're looking at. One is product expansion and the other is geographic expansion. In terms of, have we zeroed down on something? This continues to be work in progress. I think we all understand that M&As are a fairly complex process, so it's hard to put an exact timeline to it, but they continue to be work in progress.
Yes, and what about your hotels and packages side of the business? Are you looking to scale this up even further?
Tremendously. See, while on domestic air, we've seen high amount of online penetration. For hotels, that penetration level is still around the 25-30% mark if I look at the overall industry. So I think there's a lot of upside for penetration on the online front for hotels, and that will continue to drive strong growth. We are also seeing how we can maybe to a certain extent rebalance the portfolio of products that we are prioritizing. So rather than looking at more, lower end products, look at hotels with higher price points, mid-tier price points, some of the standardized chains. What that enables us to do is it enables us to deliver a better quality of experience to the end traveler. So that's one of the endeavors that we are focused on in the last few months, to try and rebalance the portfolio of hotel products that we are promoting.
Sure, and Dhruv, before I let you go, I mean, the travel costs have actually gone up tremendously. Whether you look at airfares or hotels, you're paying a cost and an arm and a leg, perhaps, in terms of how the prices have spiked. But despite all of that, do you see the traction on the ground? Are people willing to pay the higher airfares and hotels, especially for the new year?
Sure. So I think, demand obviously is extremely robust in India. And demand is not just focused on domestic travel. You're seeing strong demand for international travel as well, especially for the nearshore destinations. You've seen a lot more inventory of flights being operated to mid-haul destinations, so be it direct flights now to Bali, you've got flights into Vietnam, you've got flights into some of the Central European countries as well. So all of this is driving a high amount of short-haul traffic, and short duration kind of, impulse buying is what we are seeing. And I think this trend will continue. So while the long-haul destinations continue to be in favor in the summer months, what we are seeing is a higher frequency of travel happening to these short-haul destinations. I mean, I'm calling them short-haul, but today you've got people like Indigo flying all the way to Georgia, Tbilisi, right? So you've got these destinations also coming in through direct flight connectivity. And that is what is getting a very nice lift right now in terms of short-haul international travel. Similarly, we've seen Bali take off in a big way now that you've got direct flight connectivity there. We've seen Vietnam doing quite well as well. And obviously, the perennial favorites of Thailand and Dubai continue to be strong. The only thing that we are seeing softness in is Singapore at this point, and that's largely on account of the COVID work, some of the COVID guidelines which have been put out by Singapore as of now.
Okay, so there you have it. Those are the list of places where you can probably book a direct flight and hop across, and what's really trending with respect to the destinations for your holidays. We'll let you go on that note, Dhruv. Appreciate you making time speaking with us.